Retire the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, the invocation will be delivered by Father John Maxim.
Let us bow our heads and pray for God's blessing. O God in heaven, we gather on the shore of the Severn River at this our nation's storied Naval Academy. As a legal community, we join our Chief of Naval Operations as he presides over the transfer of responsibility from one incredibly talented officer, leader, and lawyer, a true son of this institution, who takes his place in the line of its most distinguished graduates, to another great officer, a Northwestern Wildcat, leader, and attorney. We convene to offer you thanks, and we ask you for help. We offer thanks for the stable and strident leadership of Vice Admiral John Hannock, who, buttressed by his wife Julie and his children, has continually excelled. We thank you for this man of service, brilliant but soft-spoken, confident but humble. Admiral Hannock, Lord, has always looked to you for inspiration, guidance, and protection, and you have always been at his side in the cockpit when he was taking off from a carrier in times of Cold War conflict, adorned with the call sign Mr. Clean, or at his desk in the Pentagon as he advised the Secretary of the Navy and the CNO on myriad issues that cut to the heart of our status as a free nation, always subordinate to the rule of law. Thank you for those many officers this great leader has mentored throughout his career, sometimes senior, sometimes junior to him, as he made them better than they were when they met. Thank you for Julie, truly successful both professionally and personally in her own right, and their wonderful children, Will and Olivia, of whom Admiral Hannock and his bride, who married here at the Academy, are ever so proud. We also thank you most ardently for Vice Admiral Crandall, whose equally storied career has prepared him for this ultimate challenge for a Navy lawyer. Be with him and Barb and their children, Edward, William, and Andrew, as they meet this new challenge in times that are not normal, Lord. In the midst of division and cynicism, of skepticism and confusion, Lord, please look with mercy and grace also upon Rear Admiral French, our new Deputy Judge Advocate General of the Navy, and Rear Admiral-Select Wilson, along with their respective families, whose support they will require as they take up the strain of their new and dynamic responsibilities. And so, Lord, we look to you for help, for safe harbor, for calmer seas. We ask you to pour your grace upon our great nation and upon our great Navy. Lord, help our country, the great republic, in the midst of an unparalleled health crisis. Lord, in our arrogance, we sometimes stand divided. Unite us. We are sometimes lost. Guide us. In our hubris, we have ignored your ways, and many have come to believe that humanity is the sole foundation of our destiny and require no support from you. Remind us. So, Lord, guide the leaders on this dais and those in our company and beyond. Your servant and apostle St. Paul reminds us in his letter to Timothy that the law is good if one uses it lawfully. Inspire every servant of the law at this ceremony of this reality, so that they may always exercise their great and privileged role as attorneys, so as to advance our status as free women and men, made in your image and likeness, created solely by your will. Let us always use the law in a manner that advances the freedom and majesty with which you intended all human life to be robed. Keep our course steady, Lord, as we strive to represent the advancement of the rule of law, only the best aspects you have personally endowed through your Holy Spirit upon us all. Amen.
Guests, please be seated. Military personnel may uncover. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce today's principal speaker, Admiral Michael Gilday, Chief of Naval Operations. Admiral Gilday served on board USS Chandler, USS Princeton, and USS Gettysburg before commanding USS Higgins and USS Ben Folds. He was the Commodore for Destroyer Squadron 7 and later served as Commander Carrier Strike Group 8 aboard USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. Admiral Gilday's career includes serving as Commander U.S. Fleet Cyber Command and U.S. 10 Fleet, demonstrating leadership afloat and in cyberspace. Admiral Gilday served in joint positions at NATO's Joint Force Command Lisbon, Chief of Staff for Naval Striking and Support Forces NATO, and Director of Operations and J3 for Cyber Command and later Joint Staff. Admiral Gilday is both a scholar with master's degrees from Harvard Kennedy School and the National War College, as well as a tried and true leader. It is now my honor to introduce the 32nd Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Mike Gilday.
Good morning. Distinguished guests, flag and general officers, family, friends, classmates, shipmates, welcome, and thank you for joining us today at the Naval Academy. John and Dell, thank you for letting me take part in this special event. It is truly an honor to be here today. In a few moments, we'll all bear witness to the mantle of command transferring from one leader to another. All the authority, the responsibility, and the accountability for the Judge Advocate General's Corps passes from Vice Admiral Hannock to Vice Admiral Crandall with a simple salute. And it is a huge responsibility. Our JAG enterprise is foundational to generating naval power. Every day, nearly 2,300 sailors and legal professionals from across the globe are making sure our Navy can confidently steam ahead at flank speed. In turn, your Navy is at sea where it belongs, keeping America secure. Right now, over 90 ships are sailing, squadrons are flying, and our submarines are patrolling silently, as you would expect. We are assuring our allies and partners, we are keeping the sea lanes open, and we are deterring conflict. Our naval force is providing, in the words of President Theodore Roosevelt, the surest guarantee of peace. We cannot be this force without our judge advocates, our legalmen, and our civilian sailors that compose our JAG Corps. From international law and civil litigation to military justice, they provide our commanders, our sailors, and our Navy families with legal advocacy wherever and wherever required. And they work tirelessly to formulate and implement critical Navy policies. In many ways, I think our JAG Corps are the guardians of our Navy's core attributes: initiative, accountability, integrity, and toughness. They stand this watch 24/7 at sea and ashore, in peace and in war. They hold every sailor, active and reserve, uniformed and civilian, to the highest moral standards and keep our Navy aligned with our own North Star. And they forge the trust and the confidence we have with the American people, who we are so privileged to serve day in and day out. So, today is a celebration of these guardians, the committed, dedicated, and faithful Judge Advocate General's Corps, in the incredible leadership of Vice Admiral John Hannock. John understands the value of initiative, and he understands the value of toughness. In his book, My Share of the Task, General Stan McChrystal claims that there are few secrets to leadership. It's mostly hard work. More than anything else, it requires self-discipline. Colorful, charismatic characters often fascinate people and capture our attention. But I truly believe that only naval officers with courage, wise judgment, integrity, and dedication can truly be entrusted to make our Navy the best damn Navy in the world. John has been one of them. On a lighter side, I did take a look at John Myers-Briggs personality type indicator. John is an INTJ. This won't surprise those that have worked with him. He's an architect. His associates include Isaac Newton, Thomas Jefferson, Jane Austen, C.S. Lewis, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. INTJs often have a snarky sense of humor, enjoy using sarcasm and wit to create a well-devised response. Their favorite phrase is technically. Losing an argument is stuff of legend, if ever. John has been a consummate leader in our Navy for 36 years. 27 of them in the JAG Corps. He's been a role model for all of us. As was mentioned earlier, he started his career as a naval aviator. He still has that in his DNA. He flew with VS-33, the Screwbirds, has plenty of time on the deck or finding the deck of a rolling carrier at sea. His call sign was clean, and it kind of does fit the image, doesn't it? Over the past 3 years, John has provided indispensable legal counsel at the highest levels of our Navy and our government. He's improved legal support to our sailors and their families, and he's implemented reforms that will strengthen the JAG Corps, I believe, for years to come. As competitors continue to confront the United States across all elements of national power, the legal realm has been increasingly a critical component to winning long-term competition. John has made sure our Navy is positioned and is ready for whatever comes next. And if you ask anybody fortunate enough to have served with him, they will mention his selfless devotion to his sailors. That won't surprise any of you. And his complete devotion to our mission. Every single one will tell you they were blessed to have worked with and to have learned from John Hannock. As I reflected on John's impressive career and considered his many accomplishments, it reminded me of a series of questions posed by President John F. Kennedy a long time ago, when Kennedy said, and I quote, "And when at some future date the High Court of History sits in judgment of each of us, recording whether in our brief span of service we fulfilled our responsibilities to the state, our success or failure in whatever office we hold will be measured by the answer to 4 questions. First, were we truly men of courage? Second, were we truly men and women of judgment? Third, were we truly men and women of integrity? And finally, were we truly men and women of dedication?" I've met a lot of officers through the years, some good and some not so, but only a handful can I really say have been examples of what we in our Navy should aspire to. John's one of those. The best officers are genuine, and contrary to popular belief, all naval officers happen to be human. They get tired, they get angry, they get jealous, and they carry the same range of emotions and frailties common to the rest of mankind, including lawyers. Most leaders periodically display them. The leaders I've admired most were totally human, but constantly strove to be the best humans they can be, and that's definitely John. But most of all, I've been impressed with John's courage and his judgment and his integrity and his dedication. John, I can't thank you enough for what you've done for over these past 3 years as our 44th Judge Advocate General of the United States Navy. Our Navy, John, is stronger for your time on watch, and we know you would credit your family for providing you the strength and the stamina to stand that watch. Julie, thank you for your sacrifice and for your support during these past 14 years. During this time, you and John showed all of us how to live a shared life of service while building a wonderful family. Olivia and Will, you both supported your dad as he took care of us. I know he is proud of you, both of you. Being a Navy family can be tough, but it's also an adventure. Thank you for the sacrifices you made for our country. I promise the gift of your dad's time has made our Navy and has made our nation much stronger. And we welcome your brothers, Jim and Russell. Thank you for being here and for sharing John with us all these years, along with your other brothers, Mark, Bruce, and Grant. John, I know that your mother Sylvia is smiling from the other side of the country in California, and your dad, George, is smiling down upon you with so much pride. Now, I also know we have a great crowd of Naval Academy class of 1985 in the audience who, like me, stand in awe of John, but yet are not surprised by the trajectory of his incredible career. So, I'd be remiss as a fellow classmate if I didn't share a shout out with your loyal friends from 5th Company, John, Billy and Eric and Tommy, and to your flight school roommate, Chris, along with all their great families. Thanks, guys. Just as we are sad to see the Hannock family go, we are excited for what lies ahead. Del Crandall has been an essential part of our Navy and brings that exact kind of professional experience we need in this immense responsibility. We welcome him and his phenomenal family, his wife Barb, his sons William and Edward, and from afar his other son Andrew, who stands to watch as a division officer as the USS Benfold at sea today in the Western Pacific. Del transforms organizations, and his dynamic leadership as deputy has already strengthened the office of the Judge Advocate General Corps. We are thrilled to see you carry on John's momentum in strengthening America's naval power. I know that, like John, Del, you are a servant leader, putting the needs of our sailors and their families above all else. I'm excited to see where you will take our JAG Corps. Without a doubt, our sailors and their families are in good hands as you build on John's long string of successes. I'll close with this. Admiral Hannock may be retiring, but his legacy lives on in all of us. We would be wise to emulate his example in our daily commitment to protect and to serve the United States of America. To our judge advocates, thank you for your selfless dedication. What you do on a daily basis matters to our Navy and to our nation. And before I close, I'd ask one favor. After our celebration today has come to a close, please take a moment to say a quick prayer for the Hannocks and for the Crandalls. Say a prayer, too, for the sailors, the soldiers, the airmen, the Marines, and the Coast Guardsmen deployed around the globe, putting their very lives on the line, valuing the rule of law, and protecting that very fragile thing that we call freedom. Thank you very much. And John, please come join me up at the lectern.
Yes, please. Guests, please rise. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Distinguished Service Medal, Gold Star in lieu of Third Award, to Vice Admiral John G. Hannock, Judge Advocate General's Corps, United States Navy, for service as set forth in the following citation. For exceptionally meritorious service to the United States and a duty of great responsibility as the 44th Judge Advocate General of the Navy from September 2018 through August 2021. Vice Admiral Hannock provided the Secretary of the Navy and the Chief of Naval Operations sage counsel, while also improving delivery of legal advice by the Judge Advocate General's Corps worldwide. He navigated the Navy through significant statutory and regulatory changes affecting military justice, implemented 23 reforms stemming from the comprehensive review of the Navy's uniformed legal communities, and enhanced legal support to service members and their families. As the Department of Defense representative for Ocean Policy Affairs, he forged strong ties with his counterparts across the department. His superior performance of duties culminated 40 years of honorable and dedicated military service to the nation. Vice Admiral Hannick's superior leadership, wise judgment, and deep devotion to duty reflected great credit upon him and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, Thomas Harker, Secretary of the Navy, acting. Guests, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Vice Admiral John G. Hannick, Judge Advocate General of the Navy.
Thank you, CNO, for the very kind remarks, and I'm going to have to keep a closer tabs on those Myers-Briggs results here so they don't get out too broadly. You know, in their Constitution, the group called We the People empowered the Congress to provide and maintain a Navy. And as I think about it, Congress has done it. That United States Navy is the one that I have been so privileged to serve. 36 years as an officer, 40 years total. And CNO talked a little bit about the world situation, right? Admiral Crandall's got a son out on the Benfold in the Pacific. And one of the areas that we help play a role in is this thing called freedom of the seas. Sometimes I wonder if we as Americans take a lot of freedoms for granted, and I think that's one of them. We've become so accustomed to it. But I think it's worth us thinking of those sailors, the ships that are out there keeping the seas free, keeping them open. But also being ready, because if you watch the news, you know that there's threats out there, not just threats to the freedom of the sea, but threats to other freedoms as well. So CNO, thanks for leading that Navy into the future and taking us where we need to go. And thank you for joining us here today to set in place your new leadership team of the Navy JAG Corps and to send me and my family ashore for the last time. There's a lot of great important guests here today, and we've got people from the senior executive service, flag and general officers from all the services, judges from the Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces, which is our highest court for military criminal cases below the Supreme Court. Family members and friends, neighbors of the participants, and then quite a number of judge advocates, ligamen, and other members of the Navy JAG community. And I just want to say that regardless of your connection, your support here gives us a palpable sense that we've done something good and better things are ahead. Now, a quick note, if I might, to those who brought the ceremony about, the Navy Band, right, for blessing us with the music. It moves the soul. Father Maxim for the invocation. The Master of Ceremonies, a dozen years ago, Captain Ed Westbrook and I were working in then Chief of Naval Operations Gary Ruffhead's office. And he left there to go to Afghanistan, right, as so many service members did. A number of assignments after that, and now Ed leads our international law, operational law, and national security division, and does so very capably. The chief planner was Commander Katie Callan, and then the side boys who saluted us as we came in. Those are 8 people that I've worked really closely with over the past few years. And we put out the invitation. They came from all over the U.S., came from Hawaii, came from Italy. And in my mind, that represents the broader JAG community that's standing with the Navy everywhere the Navy serves around the world. And then let me mention our gracious host of the Naval Academy, led by the Superintendent, Vice Admiral Buck. He's here, and of course his job is preparing in this place those midshipmen who are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. Sean, thanks very much for doing that. I'd like to do three things in my remarks. First, I'd like to take a quick look ahead, a look around, and then a look within. And I think it's important that we start by looking ahead. And in this, it's a real privilege for me to witness Admiral Del Crandall becoming the leader of the JAG community. He is a terrific officer, a terrific leader, engaging, thoughtful, decisive. He gives advice and counsel with insight and wisdom, and the JAG community trusts him. He's a man of his word. Joined by Rear Admiral French and Rear Admiral Select Dave Wilson, two other superbly talented officers, perfectly fit for their new roles, this team is going to deliver the superb legal services that our community owes to the Navy. But they won't do it alone. They can't do it alone. No one can. They're going to be joined by all the judge advocates, all the legalmen, all the civilian professionals that work with us, diligently serving sailors around the fleet. And you know, this is an all-volunteer force. As Del and I have talked about our force, our legalmen, our judge advocates, we know that we can't make anybody join, and we can't make anybody stay. And so all those in uniform today that you see have volunteered, and many continue to volunteer. And I hope that you'll join me when this ceremony is over in thanking them for their continued service. And so to those who continue serving on this day, receive my respect and admiration. But I want to look around as well. Now, many of you in the audience, you've known me, you've known Del, Chris, or Dave. I think for me, it's probably also true for them. Any extended period of service just would not be possible without the encouragement and support from you, but also the lessons you taught. Now, as far as lessons go, on my path of service, there's been too many to count, but I think I should recount some, because by recounting some, I think I can make up for those I don't have time to mention. So, lesson one, the best teaching is by example. You know, this is the Naval Academy, lots of discipline, and there's crazy stuff that happens in Bancroft Hall. But this one, I don't know if it's so crazy. You know, like all plebes, I was assigned roommates. You don't get to pick roommates, and I entered the first day, and it was Eric Gardner from West Virginia and Billy Fenton from Massachusetts. Now, of course, you don't get to know your roommates here by casual chatting, but rather in that mix of limited time and increased pressure that is plebe summer. And it all happens in that crucible of unwanted attention from the upperclassmen who have a keen eye looking out for those demerits, and then they're to exact the requisite punishment. So I arrived here on July 7, 1981, after the first day, had a good night's sleep, and then Eric and I witnessed something the next morning, and Billy Fenton jumped out of bed, and I think it was a few minutes before 0600 Reveille. He grabbed a rag and a bottle of Fantastic Cleaner, if you can picture this, took a one-step running leap, jumped about 3 feet high onto the desk, reached up with the rag and started immediately wiping down the blinds of the window. And Eric and I looked at each other with astonishment. Of course, as we learned, what Billy had done, it was not an unnatural act, it was perfectly logical. It was expected, it was needed, because that day, in fact every day, an upperclassman was going to come in with a white-gloved hand and run a finger over those blinds looking for a mite of dust. But Billy had an advantage. He knew it was going to happen. He'd spent a year at the Naval Academy Prep School in Newport, Rhode Island. Eric and I didn't have a clue. But Billy didn't tell us what to do. He didn't give us orders. He just showed us. And we watched and we learned. And then we followed. And we quickly snapped to. And I, for one, have benefited from this kind of showing, this kind of sharing, this kind of learning everywhere that I've gone in my career. In flight school, in an operational squadron, my initial assignment as a lawyer, and then out to the 5th Fleet staff in Bahrain, and everywhere after that. Being able to watch and observe and learn has been critical. My lesson, too, also comes from Annapolis, and that's one can be a warrior and also be considerate, courteous, and respectful. You know, at the end of plebe summer here, I met what we call a sponsor family. These are Annapolis families who agree to host a midshipman, sort of like a home away from home. And somehow my name was matched with Colonel Alan English and his wife, Audrey. Colonel English had recently retired from the Army. He and Audrey settled in Annapolis. They became involved in the community, and every other year they'd sponsor 2 midshipmen. And getting to know them over time, I heard a number of Colonel English's stories about being in the Army. And one of them just struck me. He was a company commander in Korea, patrolling as far north as you could go in North Korea, up on the Yalu River. And then he had to lead his men on a long withdrawal, right, that many of you have read about. And so he was Army infantry through and through. But yet here he was, a West Pointer in Annapolis. He founded the West Point Society of Annapolis, but he was also quite active in the Naval Academy Foundation. There were endless invitations to dinner. And in them, I think, a generation of midshipmen that they sponsored saw an example of courtesy and generosity, a standard I'll never reach, but with the understanding of the importance of trying. The third and final lesson that I'll go through today, again, these are my lessons, it's the idea and the importance of fairness. And, you know, I'd like to say that everybody comes with that, and I had a wonderful upbringing. I had a sense of fairness, right, at 19, but it's evolved. And this, too, I've learned from all of you through the years. You know, in this Navy, I've been able to work with colleagues from all over the country, all races, ethnicities, religion, social class, etc. And all that matters was the oath we took. All that matters was that we gave 100%. Now, the Navy hasn't always been this way, of course, just like other institutions in America. Our history can be a blessing, but it can also be a burden. And so understanding it really matters. And I wonder if there's some truth in the saying that the sins of one generation are visited upon the third and the fourth, then could it be that there may be some aspects of history that we can't just get over, but instead we need to work through together? And in this Navy, I came to appreciate that the same Constitution that provides for the Navy, those same we the people, inserted some principles for fair treatment, of due process, of equal protection of the laws. And in this Navy, I've learned that it's a complex world of individuals and groups. And it's easy to categorize, easy to stereotype, to look at others and think that they're all different, that within that group they're all alike, but we know that's not the case. For once you step alongside any group, once you step inside, you realize the great variety that exists. But what never goes away is that desire for fair treatment. I've learned that, particularly with changes in technology and the evolution of the 24/7 news cycle, in an environment of perpetual noise and accusation, that one's ability to identify friend from foe can be skewed. And that if we put a few seconds of thought into identifying our similarities and our common ground, well, then we can have differences without division, and we can act on principle without being partisan. And I think this lesson, more than any other, again, a lesson you taught me, that I can say that during my time in service, I haven't just aged, I've grown. As I look around, I say to all of you who've taught me these lessons, on this day, receive my thanks. Now, if I might, let me look within. I think back to just before COVID hit. And our public affairs officer, Patty Babb, was just starting a series, and it was to invite Judge Advocates Leaguemen to give their why. And we had to put that on pause, but that idea has never escaped my mind. So my mom can't be here, and my dad passed a few years ago, but my Aunt Alma is present. And if you permit, I'll talk about her generation. Because like everyone, that's where my story starts. And in that, I was richly blessed. You know, one of my childhood memories was just hearing my aunts and uncles talk. And periodically, the discussion amongst my uncles about someone else that they knew was he in the service? That's what they called it. It was the service. Once in a while, there was the Army or the Navy that was mentioned, but usually just the service. And my family didn't have a particular tradition of careers, but we did serve. On one side of the family, an uncle in the Army was a prisoner of war during World War II, with physical and mental consequences that lasted his entire life. We didn't get many stories from him, and for good reason. But as he neared the end, my mom helped write a small book. And I've tried to read that every year for a reminder about what sacrifice looks like. And I've thought about that as I've looked around over the past 20 years and seen the next generation sacrifice as well. And on the other side of the family, an uncle was a sailor on the ship in the Pacific. He served under Admiral Nimitz and Admiral Halsey. And he told about sailing into a typhoon one evening, and then by the next morning, several ships from the company were no longer there. And years later, I would read about that. Some signed up, others were drafted. But regardless, it was their service and their stories that made a mark on me. So I didn't want to take a chance. When it came time to apply for the academies, I put in for them all. Asked every congressman, or my congressman, asked both senators. And I just wonder if one of them, congressman or senator, and one academy would just take a chance on a young person from humble beginnings who just had a plan to serve. Well, they took a chance, and that path led me here to Annapolis. Now, fast forward, if you will, to 2006, and I met Julie, and I quickly noticed that two of her traits are that she's a planner and a planter. And if you knew her family, I think you'd agree that these traits come about quite naturally. Julie's mom, Adrienne, who's with us today, trained as a nurse, but then raised 4 daughters while her husband spent many years away on sea duty. She had to be a good planner, and that was passed along. Well, Julie's also a planter. She comes about this naturally. Her father was born and raised in South Dakota. John Hilt left South Dakota in the mid-50s to come here to Annapolis. He was commissioned in 1959, served in the Surface Navy, trained in nuclear power, spent many months off the coast of Vietnam as a junior officer, and then later in his career, commanded the USS South Carolina, a nuclear-powered cruiser, off the coast of Iran with the Naval Task Group. Now, I met John Hilt when he was a retired captain, and by this time I was an active duty captain, so we could quickly relate. And he had been commissioning engineer on the USS Nimitz, helping to bring that nuclear-powered aircraft carrier into service in 1975. And he wouldn't know it at the time, but 15 years later, I'd be on the Nimitz. My squadron would deploy out to the Western Pacific Indian Ocean, yes, the North Arabian Sea, a different generation, watching Iran and conducting our operations there. And I just recall the dedicated sailors who ran the flight deck, who ran the ship, maintained the airplanes, and just kept everything running. And as I think back on it, from John Hilt, it was just the next generation that was serving. One of my favorite memories is returning on deployment on the Nimitz, going under the Golden Gate Bridge. We moved into San Francisco Bay, docked at Naval Air Station Alameda. That was the end of my cruise, but it wasn't the end of the Nimitz. The ship still served. It's the longest serving aircraft carrier in the fleet. Came back from a deployment recently, and it's got a few years to go until it hits about 50 years old or so, and then it too would retire. And the connection that Captain John Hilt and I have to the Nimitz is one that I'll always treasure. Now, Captain Hilt got his wings and departed this world last December, but his many interests, love of all things farm-related being one of them, lasted until the end. And he would often talk gardening with Julie. Like father, like daughter. And as Julie would describe herself, I do flowers. And that she does. Our yard is filled with all kinds, and they don't just appear. She spends tedious hours planning the layout, testing and treating the soil, and then the planting. But of course, life as a gardener isn't just watering and watching, it's also pulling weeds, doing whatever it takes to create that magic that in our yard at the appointed time becomes an explosion of colorful life. Now, one of the traits that attracted me to Julie was she could name just about every kind of plant, every kind of flower. We would walk along and she would recite name after name of the flowers we would see. And now with her own garden, she knows them all by name. And in this garden, there are two flowers that she favors. They're the most precious, so they get the extra attention. Preparing the soil, applying the water, even the pulling the weeds to give them the best room to grow. And those two flowers are, of course, named Olivia and Will. They're beautiful flowers in their own right. They don't always like the attention that mom or dad gives. They're still developing, still in the spring of life. And like all responsible gardeners, Julie and I are trying to set the right conditions for them to thrive. It's not always easy. Growing flowers rarely is. If something can use, you might say, an adjustment, well, you can only do so much to fix a flower. You got to work backwards to the water, to the soil, the environment. But it's a lot of fun. And we have work to do, and that's the work to which I'm going to turn myself. So that's my why. And to Julie, kids, my extended family, on this day, receive my love. I will now read my orders.
Guests, please rise.
From Chief of Naval Operations to Judge Advocate General, CNO Order 1741. Retirement orders for Vice Admiral John G. Hannock, Judge Advocate General's Corps, United States Navy. Your request to be transferred to the retired list has been approved by the Secretary of Defense. Relieved in August 2021 from duty as Judge Advocate General of the Navy. Relieved of all active duty effective 23/59, 30 September 2021.
Guests, please be seated. Admiral Hannock will now be presented with the United States flag by Master Chief Legalman Brooke Larkins, United States Navy. The flag was flown on board USS Nimitz on the 3rd of June, 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, Vice Admiral Crandall will now assume the office of the Judge Advocate General of the Navy. Guests, please rise. Official party, cover.
I will now read my orders. From Chief of Naval Operations to Navy Judge Advocate General, CNO Order 2141, subject administrative orders for Vice Admiral Darce E. Crandall, Jr., JAG Corps, United States Navy. When directed by reporting senior, detach in August 2021 from duty as Deputy Judge Advocate General of the Navy and Commander, Naval Legal Service Command. Report no later than August 2021 for duty as Judge Advocate General of the Navy. Report for duty as the Judge Advocate General of the Navy. Very well. Congratulations.
Guests, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Vice Admiral Del Crandall, Judge Advocate General of the Navy.
So the good news is I can follow my script because it does still say good morning. Welcome, CNO, Vice Admiral Hannock and family, Flag and General officers, active and retired, members of the Senior Executive Service, other distinguished guests, legal colleagues, family, and friends. Thanks for being here today. I promise to try and keep my remarks from becoming too lengthy, and if I wander, I know Barb and the boys will keep me on track. Before I begin, I want to thank John Hannock for his tireless efforts over the last 6 years, leading our community through the comprehensive review and the unprecedented challenges of the COVID pandemic, and at the same time, ensuring we delivered the best legal solutions to the fleet and warfighter. I also want to thank the Hannock family for their support of John and the sacrifices that they've made. I know there were important family events that John missed and many late nights. Julie, Olivia, and Will, I'm grateful for your service in support of our Navy and our JAG community. John, you should be proud of all that the JAG community has accomplished with you at the helm to support CNO's Mission 1, the operational readiness of today's Navy and a Navy ready for tomorrow. We are a better community because of your steady and focused leadership, and I'm a better officer because of your mentorship and guidance over the years. Thank you. It's the honor of my career to address you today as the 45th Judge Advocate General of the Navy. I'm proud to lead such a fine group of men and women, legalmen, fleet sailors, judge advocates, and Department of Navy civilians. And today, we all benefit as we bring on board two exceptional new leaders, Rear Admiral Chris French and Rear Admiral Select Dave Wilson. Rear Admiral Reardon's, Master Chiefs Larkin and Webster and I welcome you to the leadership team. The JAG community is almost 2,300 strong, and together we will meet the Navy's legal needs for commanders and individual sailors. One morning last week, I was following my usual routine, driving from the Navy Yard to the Pentagon, listening to the latest news on the radio about the COVID-19 vaccine. And it hit me. Our world has changed dramatically over the last 18 months. So much so that we have a new vocabulary. We talk about social distancing, masking, the Delta variant, and breakthrough cases, as if they're second nature. But our mission hasn't changed. CNO's Navigation Plan 2021, the NAV Plan, reminds us when it says, for 245 years in both calm and rough waters, our Navy has stood the watch to protect the homeland, preserve freedom of the seas, and defend our way of life. The NAV Plan details CNO's strategy and 4 priorities for our Navy. And I'm gratified to be a part of a community that contributes to all 4. What are those priorities? Sailors, readiness, capabilities, and capacity. First, sailors. We will develop a seasoned team of naval warriors. Our sailors will remain the best trained and educated in the world so we can outthink and outfight any adversary. Our community trains sea service legal professionals at the Naval Justice School in Newport and at detachments in fleet concentration areas in San Diego and Norfolk, often in concert with subject matter experts from JAG headquarters. In addition, we take training directly to the fleet, going on the road with mobile training teams. Today, we also provide legal training across the continuum for line officers, as division officers, department heads, and ultimately as prospective commanding officers, executive officers, and senior enlisted leaders. And we train one another on the job, especially at our region legal service offices and our defense service offices, where leaders focus on the newest judge advocates and legalmen in our community. Second, readiness. We will deliver a more ready fleet. Our Navy will be ready to deploy forward and win in day-to-day competition, in crisis, and in conflict. Legal teams serve across the fleet, helping commanders resolve tough legal issues and ensuring the command is ready to meet its mission. We are embedded at region headquarters, carrier and expeditionary strike groups, naval special warfare groups, as part of ship's company, on aircraft carriers and tenders, and on type commanders and major installation staffs, and many others. And for those Navy commands without embedded judge advocates or legalmen, RILSO Command Services Departments deftly answer the call for legal advice. Our legal assistance teams deliver legal readiness to our sailors and their families, so they are ready to deploy without distractions. It might be resolving landlord-tenant issues or ensuring our sailors are not taken advantage of in consumer law matters. Or it could be a newer practice area, such as assistance to Navy sailors who have an exceptional family member that needs special education services from the local school district. Our military justice system is critical to commanders ensuring good order and discipline across the fleet. It's a fair and transparent process that tries hundreds of courts-martial each year and resolves many more administrative proceedings. Defense counsel and paralegals protect the constitutional rights of sailors accused of crimes. Victims' legal counsel ensure victims of sexual assault and domestic violence have an advocate to give them voice. Trial counsel, legalmen, and support staff work to meet commanders' good order and discipline goals as cases are prosecuted or resolved at other forums. And military judges at both the trial and appellate levels ensure our courts operate fairly, efficiently, and that our sailors and the American public can have faith and confidence in the military justice system. There are other examples, the members of the Disability Evaluation System program, who serve wounded, ill, and injured sailors and Marines, and the OJAG claims team, who help service members when their personal property is lost incident to service in the wake of a hurricane or a fire, ashore or at sea. Third, capabilities. We will deliver a lethal, better connected fleet, one that will deploy an array of capabilities, including weapons of increasing range and speed. And while the JAG community doesn't deliver capabilities, we are partners with the fleet in ensuring new technologies can be deployed and employed in accordance with the law of war, helping commanders optimize the operational use of any new capabilities. Subject matter experts at JAG headquarters are a huge part of this. Operational and international law attorneys working on the legal impacts and employment of unmanned systems in, on, or above the seas. The Admiralty Law Team, ensuring the development of international rules of the road at sea, the call regs for unmanned vehicles. And our operational environmental lawyers, preserving the ability for Navy units to train realistically at sea and in the air. Fourth, capacity. The Navy will deliver a larger hybrid fleet. Candidly, at first, I couldn't tell you how the JAG community contributed to this priority, as we don't build submarines, ships, aircraft, or weapons systems. However, if you dig a little deeper into the NAV plan, it talks about capacity expanding when we sail in company with like-minded navies across the globe, and America being far stronger when we stand alongside our allies and partners to uphold freedom of the seas. As a JAG community, we do contribute here. Whenever we are part of a legal team during a combined operation or exercise with allies and partners, when our shipmates on geographic combatant command staffs engage with legal professionals from other nations, and as we continue our JAG headquarters exchange program with the Royal Navy. In sum, I'm proud to say that we deliver on all fronts. We develop sailors, deliver sailor and unit readiness, ensure Navy can fully utilize new capabilities, and increase capacity for legal interoperability with other countries. That's a record we can all be proud of. Finally, how do we keep focus on the Navy's priorities, today, tomorrow, and into the future? We work as teammates, keeping our JAG community governing principles at the forefront, always remembering that we embody a warfighting spirit, lead with character and integrity, stand for diversity, equity, and inclusion, embrace accountability, promote a culture of learning, and encourage innovation. While our challenges may be many, I know that together we will meet them head on and deliver the best legal solutions to the Navy because we are laser focused on the fleet and the warfighter. To the Navy JAG community, thank you for all you've done in support of our Navy during my tenure as a Deputy Judge Advocate General and Commander, Naval Legal Service Command. A special thanks to those leaders with whom I've served at Naval Legal Service Command, the Chiefs of Staff, the commanding officers, the executive officers, the officers in charge, and senior enlisted leaders. And to the leaders at OJAG headquarters, the Assistant Judge Advocates General, division directors, and deputies. And thanks, too, to those in the trenches, both at headquarters and across the globe. My heartfelt thanks also for the front office staff, especially the executive assistants, flag secretaries, and flag lieutenants. All of you made it work, and I'm grateful. Before I close, I want to take a moment to thank my mentors. I truly appreciate your support over the years and would like to give a special shout out to two joining us today. The CO from my first ship, USS Lockwood, Captain Warren Hudson, and the XO during my carrier tour on board USS Independence, Captain Hardy Kircher. Both of you are incredible servant leaders. Along with many impressive JAG leaders throughout my career, too many to mention by name, you helped me grow as a person, as an attorney, and as a naval officer. Thank you. And finally, to my family, to my parents and sister. Mom and Dad, thanks for being two incredible role models. I hope I'm half the parent that you've been to me. And Amy, thanks for always telling it like it is and putting up with an older brother who once sold you a get-out-of-jail-free card during a Monopoly game for $500. To my three sons, who definitely keep me grounded, thanks for remaining positive throughout a lifetime of moves and growing up to be such good people. You make me proud. We are lucky to have William and Edward here today representing the team, while Andrew is deployed on Benfold, somewhere in the Western Pacific. I love you all. And finally, to my wife of almost 35 years and my best friend, Barbara. You are my rock, and words are not enough. None of this would be possible without the unconditional love and support you've given me over so many years. All right, with that, I charge everyone in the JAG community to maximize fleet and sailor readiness, daily demonstrate our governing principles, and remember how fortunate we are to serve our Navy and our nation as members of two professions, the legal profession and the profession of arms. Shipmates, I look forward to working with you over the next 3 years to deliver the best legal solutions to the fleet and the warfighter. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the new Deputy Judge Advocate General of the Navy, Rear Admiral Christopher C. French.
All right, I'll check my watch for 2 reasons. 1, yep, it's still morning, so we're good there. 2, to make sure I don't talk too long. I know what my new job is. So good morning to everybody. First, I just want to say welcome, share a welcome with all of our distinguished visitors. I want to say welcome to the friends, to the family, and to our shipmates who are here with us today. Just a couple of thank yous, so please bear with me. First, so you know, I just want to thank you for taking your time out of a very busy day to be here on this stage and celebrate this change with us. We really appreciate it, and thank you for your leadership of the Navy. To Admiral Hannock, thank you for 6 years of outstanding leadership to the Navy JAG Corps, both as the Deputy Judge Advocate and then most recently the last 3 years as a Judge Advocate. But thank you probably more importantly for your years of service to our nation throughout your career in the Navy. To Admiral Crandall, thank you for your leadership to the JAG Corps as a Deputy Judge Advocate for the last 3 years. I also want to thank you personally for the friendship and the mentorship that you have shown me over the past almost 20 years that we have known each other since our first being stationed together in London, England. I want to say thank you, obviously, to all the people who are out there who made this happen, and a lot of people who aren't out here who made this happen, to the band, to the side boys, to the color guard, to the people who did all the planning and the script writing and made all this happen, because obviously a lot of work went into what you see here today. To Ed Westbrook, I want to say thanks and good job for being the MC. Ed and I served together on the Kitty Hawk many years ago, and I'm looking forward to working closely with you again as I take on these new responsibilities. And then, obviously, a thank you to my family. So my daughter, Caitlin, is here with us today. My son, Andrew, who's a second lieutenant in the United States Army, is currently in the midst of his military training, starting his career, being exactly where he should be, can't be with us here today. Thank you to my brother, Andrew, and my sister, Debbie, and their families. Thanks for coming out and supporting me over all these years, but thanks for coming out and coming down for this. And then obviously my parents, Peter and Nancy French, who hopefully are listening in remotely. Thank you for all you've done to support me throughout my career. We are living through extraordinary times. That should be no surprise to anybody. As we all are here this morning, we awoke this morning in the safety and security of the United States of America. And I think it's important to just take a moment to think about the countless men and women who are deployed away from their homes, away from their families, keeping us safe, preserving our freedom, and defending our great nation. As legal professionals, we play a critical role in supporting the mission, in supporting the operator.
And I am confident that the Navy JAG Corps will continue to do that no matter what challenges the world throws at us. Change. Ceremonies like today celebrate change. They celebrate the change that our previous leaders got us through. They celebrate the change that the next leaders are going to get us through. In the days to come, we've got a lot of hard work ahead of us, and we're going to build on the work of all the people who came before us, many of them sitting here in this room, many more watching remotely, and we're going to be up for the task. One of those changes that's worthy of a moment to think about is the change that brings Rear Admiral Dave Wilson to that chair. The JAG Corps, over the past couple of years, has seen fit to make a fundamental change to our structure, to establish a Commander Navy Legal Service Command that is independent of the deputy job. That change, I am confident, is going to make us better. Dave, congratulations on your selection for Rear Admiral. I could not be happier to be able to have the opportunity to work with you. And I pledge on behalf of myself and the rest of the JAG Corps community, we're going to be standing right there by your side as you work to establish the new independent Navy Legal Service Command. And we're going to be there to help you. And then finally, to Admiral Crandall, congratulations on assuming the duties as our new Judge Advocate General of the Navy. I am humbled to stand by your side and help you write the next chapter with this great organization that I have been a part of for so many years. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral Select David G. Wilson, Judge Advocate General's Corps, United States Navy, will now relieve Vice Admiral Del Crandall as Commander, Navy Legal Service Command. Guests, please rise. Official party, cover.
I will now read my orders. From Chief of Naval Operations to Judge Advocate General, CNO Order 2231. Subject, Administrative Orders for Rear Admiral Select David G. Wilson. When directed by Reporting Senior, detached in August 2021 from duty as Assistant Judge Advocate General, Operations and Management, and report not later than August 2021 for duty as Commander, Naval Legal Service Command. I report for duty as Commander, Naval Legal Service Command. Very well.
Guests, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral Select David G. Wilson, Commander, Navy Legal Service Command.
CNO, honored guests, legal colleagues, members of the JAG community, friends, and cherished family members, we are touched by your presence here today at the Naval Academy and for your remote participation via live stream. I'm deeply honored and humbled to have assumed command this morning of Naval Legal Service Command. In carrying out my new duties, I'm mindful of the leadership advice from my former boss, Admiral John Harvey. It goes like this: commanding officers must demonstrate the ability to lead their sailors, to gain and hold their trust, to deliver opportunities for their personal and professional development, and to give them the tools, training, and time required to perform their assigned task. I cannot think of better advice for the start of my tour. CNO, I fully recognize the significance of this newly independent position, and I intend to deliver, focusing on your priorities and ensuring operational readiness to the fleet and our sailors. Vice Admiral Crandall, thank you for your steadfast leadership and the boundless energy you poured into Naval Legal Service Command during the last 3 years. I had a front row seat for Naval Legal Service Command's many achievements thanks to your steady guidance. And also, I was a recipient of many taskers from our weekly meetings and your well-charged return from in-person or virtual command visits. I intend to follow your PIM, that's a nautical term for our civilian friends, as I take the helm. In the coming days and weeks, I will have more to say to the men and women of Naval Legal Service Command about our way forward. Today, however, we're here to celebrate the career of a giant of the JAG Corps, and if I'm so bold, the Navy. For 40 years, Vice Admiral Hannick, you stood the watch. You led, you mentored, and at times, you carried the weight of the entire JAG community. You did it with poise and humility. I thank you. Our JAG community thanks you. Admiral Hannick, it was a privilege to have worked directly for you during the last 2 years as I watched you navigate troubled waters, steeled with determination and resolve. And yes, your trademark calm demeanor. You taught me many things, but one that I cherish daily is a mantra you often repeated. And we heard it today in your speech. Everyone is a person of value. Treat them that way. Those who know you know that's not merely an expression, but a way of life for you. As you depart the pattern, Pam and I wish calm seas and fair winds for you, Julie, Oliver, and Will. As you move towards your future outside the Navy, and I move towards a new beginning myself, I'm mindful that a Navy career is not made by the sailor alone. At each step along the way, from my first day at Officer Indoctrination School in Newport, Rhode Island, to today, my family was there. I lost my dad 3 years ago. He taught me to respect others and to work for the love of doing so, rather than what you think you can get from it. He's gone, but I get to enjoy his sense of humor and humility from my younger son, Mark, who reminds me every day I'm just a dad. Mom, thank you for pushing me, believing in me, and always being the first person to defend me. I distinctly remember some spirited teacher-parents conferences. Mom Ivora, Dean, Clarence, my brother Phil, and my sister-in-law Marion, thank you for being here today and being a part of my family's support structure. Pam, you're the true boss of the Wilson family. Your sacrifice has been many, in fact, unquantifiable. You're my love, my counselor, and the wind in my sail. I look forward to our 25th wedding anniversary next month. By the way, what are we doing? Simone, Justin, and Mark, your mom and I are so immensely proud of each of you and the path you have chosen. Simone, best of luck with law school and your mother and I look forward to you joining the family profession. Justin, I can't wait to watch your first Division I soccer game, and yes, on the 14th of September, you play the Naval Academy. Mark, you're stuck with Mom and me for a few more years, but somehow I think you're fine with that. To my Navy family, it has been an incredible ride, and it's a privilege to serve alongside each of you. Thank you all, and I'll see you around the fleet.
Guests, please rise for the benediction and remain standing for the conclusion of the ceremony and departure of the official party. Military personnel, please cover.
Let's bow our heads and pray for God's blessing. O Lord, we have witnessed the exercise of tradition, pomp, and panoply, the presentation of much-earned honor, and now we close by turning to you for your blessing. We ask you to bless our Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Michael Gilday, as he leads our Navy, living out its role as a force for justice, freedom, and all that is good. We ask you to bless Vice Admiral Crandall as he takes up his new burden and stands as the embodiment of the rule of law and as mainstay of our constitutional protections. We ask your guidance for Rear Admiral French and Rear Admiral Wilson as they stand in support of our new Judge Advocate General. Protect our nation, our President, our Navy, and our Marine Corps, and especially today, Lord, all those who practice law in these great uniformed services. Protect our judges, our advocates, and those who advise our commands. Endow in each of them a subordination of self to the greater need of the law. Finally, Lord, we beg you to watch over our departed leader and shipmate Vice Admiral Hannock, and as he and Julie and their children in their great company begin new adventures, invariably oriented to continued service for the betterment of your people, while at the same time remaining a member of our Navy family. Look upon Admiral Hannock, Lord, and cloak him with your highest commendation. Well done, O good and faithful servant. Lord, we ask for the intercession of our Blessed Mother upon John and his family. Keep them close to you. Let them always feel your protection and guidance. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Following time-honored tradition, Vice Admiral Hannock will now be joined by his family and piped ashore for the final time. Bosun, post the side boys.
Admiral Hannock, permission granted to go ashore. Thank you.
Vice Admiral, United States Navy, retired, and family departing. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the departure of the official party. Bosun, retire the side boys. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending our ceremony today. You are cordially invited to say farewell to Vice Admiral Hannock, congratulate Vice Admiral Crandall, Rear Admiral French, and Rear Admiral Select Wilson, and enjoy refreshments on the arena floor.